Hey guys, today I want to talk about an exercise that I think is extremely underrated and underused because of some of the difficulty that we have getting into it. And that's what I want to talk about today. And that exercise is the lateral lunge or the lateral squat, and really just working in the lateral plane. So our lateral plane or our frontal plane, it's our side to side action. And that plane is actually super important because it allows us to move in side to side actions, but it also is kind of our key to unlock rotational movement as well. So if we're a golfer, tennis player, baseball player, whatever it might be, or just a recreational athlete who has to twist and move during certain actions like yard work or shoveling snow when it comes to the wintertime, we want to be able to work through this plane. And because we are human beings and a lot of our gym work is in the front, is in the sagittal plane, which is in front of us, we don't really get into this plane a lot during the day. Okay, so real quick here, what is that frontal plane again? It's the side-to-side plane. So it's if I'm stepping to the side or if I'm moving to the side, right? Where again, most of our exercises take place right in front of us. So if we talk about squatting or hinging or deadlifting or lunging, which are all great exercises, or even our pushing and our pulling exercises, a lot of it takes place in front of us. And we don't do a ton to the side. Because of that, again, because it's not super familiar with our daily activities, it's a little bit harder to get into. So when we do get into it, which again, we do a ton of lateral movement here at the Athletic Way, again, not only to optimize that movement, but to open up the rotational patterns for all of our athletes. When we try to get into it, a lot of times we'll have a little bit of trouble feeling stiff or locked up in the hips. Okay, so let's just demonstrate a little bit of a lateral squat real quick from this view. And so when I sit into one side, what ends up happening a lot of times, or we hear our athletes express a lot, is that they either feel jammed up here and or they feel jammed up in that trail leg. Okay, it's actually a little more common to feel jammed up in that trail leg. Okay? And what is happening? Two things happen first. Number one, when we sit into it, a lot of times our athletes, without being coached at first, are using kind of both feet to dilute the pressure. So they're sharing the pressure or sharing the load in both sides. So that means as I'm sitting into, let's say, my right hip, right leg right now, I'm also putting a lot of pressure on this trail leg. And what that does, that puts a lot of tension on the adductor line, the medial hamstring, and then therefore kind of pulls my pelvis into a position that closes down that joint and jams me up a little bit. Okay, so one of our coaching points that we talked with our athletes a ton about is getting really, really light on that trail leg. So as I'm sitting into one side, I want to be kind of really, really light back here and taking most of the pressure in the side that I'm sitting into. That takes a lot of pressure off of that trail leg. Okay, and then secondly, from the side view, what we see happening with this plane, and it happens with all of our other planes too, is a little bit of that extension pattern. So a lot of our athletes, as they go to sit back, they're going to go into that a little bit of that popped pattern, right? We go like a tail pop or a butt pop, and that's what we call extension of the low back or anterior tilt of the hip, okay? And when that happens, that actually shuts down my hip joint. So if I go into that position and I get into this big pop back, now I'm shutting down space in that hip joint, versus if I'm here and I can get into a more neutral plane, now I can actually sink into that position without feeling that trail leg getting jammed up. Okay, so again, one of the big things that we want to master with every exercise, but especially into this lateral plane, is our ability to control that hip. Okay, and that can take place in a bunch of different planes, and that's where we help our athletes out a ton, is understanding how to feel that and then being able to use that in all of our planes. But again, if I'm doing a lateral lunge or a lateral squat and I get back and I feel really jammed up here, a lot of times because we're getting that little pop out. Okay, so that's why we feel jammed up a lot of times. We're too heavy on that trail leg. We're a little bit into that anterior tilt. Okay, so we want to get out of that anterior tilt. And then the last thing that we really want to do to optimize the lateral lunge or lateral squat is sit back. Okay, so that's another big player there, is that again, from a sideways view, let's look at my left side in this case, a lot of times we sit off to the side and what we end up seeing is this forward motion at our knee, okay, versus sitting back. So we talk a lot about, hey, it's a side-to-side movement, yes, but I'm really just focused on, can I push that hip back as I sink into that side? Okay, and again, why we want to do that and why we want to talk about that, if I can just kind of get out to that lateral position or wide position, and I want to sit into one side, I think about, can I keep that trail leg straight? Can I bend this leg that I'm sitting into? And can I push my butt back? And kind of automatically sinks me into a good position. If that trail leg bends as I go down, now it's kind of pushing me forward into that position. Okay, so that's what we can think about when we want to clean up that lateral lunge or lateral squat, because again, you do want to do these exercises. And so again, the first thing first, get that core position. So making sure as I'm there, I'm not going in that big extension pattern. I'm trying to get a little bit of that core tucked position. I want to be relatively light on the trail leg, so I'm not really, really heavy back here. And then as I go into it, I'm thinking about keeping one leg straight, the trail leg straight, and I'm thinking about sinking my hip back into the side that I'm sitting into. And this could be a body weight, it could be a plate press, it could be a single arm dumbbell, it could be goblet grip, it could be any kind of variation of the lateral lunge or lateral squat. But think about those three pieces: core, light on the trail leg, and sit the butt back. And you'll see that lateral plane open up much better for you, hopefully more pain-free. And then it'll allow you to optimize that position, leading into optimization of a lot of different things, including the rotational plane. Okay, so try that out. Continue to train hard, move well, and live athletic. See you in the next one.